Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is David, this is David K Reacts, and here on this channel I ramble with articulation, I hope, about a variety of musical, video and audio elements of the videos that I watch. However, this is number 6 in my series Music That Inspired Me. I just finished recording my current reaction and I had a little extra time and I wanted to get one of these out. And this is basically me talking about a piece I have heard before, many times, sometimes a few times, other times. But it's a piece of music that has really impacted me as a musician, as an appreciator of art, as a creator, as a story writer, many different things. And it's just an opportunity for me to share a little bit of what made me, me, essentially. And today I'm going to be looking at a rather remarkable piece of music, orchestral music, which I have actually never played in an orchestra, but I have played a piano reduction of. And that is a piece called Nimrod. And this is variation number 9 from the Enigma variations by Elgar. This is a piece of music. This happens in the second half of the theme and variations. A theme and variations, for anybody who doesn't know, is when a composer writes a theme, a piece of music, and it has a strong motif in it. And the idea of it is that the theme is set in that first movement, and then multiple movements follow it, and in each of those, the theme, a variation of the theme is created, quite literally theme and variations, and there can be any number of variations you want. In this, there are, I want to say, 14, including the theme. Do I have that correct? Yes, I do. And this is, the whole of the Enigma variations is an absolutely wonderful piece of music, but Nimrod, the very first time I heard it, and I couldn't tell you when that was, struck me as one of the most extraordinary pieces of music I had ever heard, and it stands that way today. It is still capable of sending a chill through my entire body. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous, lush, rich piece of music. It takes its time, and it's very evocative. And the idea with the Enigma variations was that each one was dedicated to, and I quote, "my friends pictured within." And the idea was that Elgar's friends were all represented, and in the original score, at the top of each piece is a set of initials. And I think we now know who all of the initials belong to, or most of them, but they're dedicated to friends. And so, for example, his friend Dorabella was actually is for variation 10. And Dorabella, and please correct me if I have this incorrect, anyone who knows this, but she had a stutter, and that is represented through the way that the woodwind plays their music. It's this bop, very, very kind of staccato, quick notes that kind of represent a stutter. And the idea was that Elgar was basically painting musical portraits of his friends, and that's what this was all for. Nimrod is a fraction different. He has said that it actually told a story of a moment. And he was, my understanding was he was basically ready to pack it in. Like he was having a tough time, he was done with composing. And Nimrod is dedicated to Augustus Jaeger, who was a music editor who would give him very strong criticism, which was something that Elgar loved. He wanted to be criticized. It was constructive criticism, so he was able to keep going. But he was also an ardent supporter of Elgar. And Elgar was having a really tough time, and he just wanted to give it all up. And Jaeger came over and reminded him of how Ludwig van Beethoven had tons of trouble, but he just wrote music. And that was his outlet for trouble, was music. As you know, they often say that good music comes from difficult circumstances or challenges or things like that. And Jaeger convinced him to keep writing, and so Nimrod was dedicated to him as a musical story of that moment, which is quite delightful. And I think anybody who is creative in any way, shape or form is familiar with that idea of, I can't do this anymore, I'm not good enough, there's too much going on, whatever it happens to be. And so I kind of love that idea, that this was his response to that. This is actually 19th century work. The work was composed in 1899, or I think maybe even a little bit before that, but it was finished in 1899. And so it's this wonderful romantic sounding music. I did just want to give a couple of examples of some of the other movements, just to feed in a little bit to the idea of what the theme and variations is. So these are performed. This is just a list of short segments that are on Wikipedia. This is performed by the Halle Orchestra and conducted by Sir John Barbarolli. This is the beginning of the initial piece, the Enigma Andante. And so here, this is this theme that the violin is playing right now. Gorgeous stuff. So that's the beginning of it. That's what the theme sounds like for the first sort of, I don't know, 30 seconds or so. Just to give a slight variation to that, this is the Allegro di molto, which is variation 4. And so you can hear how that is a variation of the theme that we just heard. I just wanted to set that up so that you have an idea of what's going on here. And now I'm going to jump over and we'll listen to the full Nimrod. This is as being performed by the Boston Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Anna Rakitina. She was the conductor from 2019 to 2023. This was performed at the Tanglewood Festival in 2021. And is one of the best versions of this I have ever heard. The emotion, the feeling that a conductor can put into the performance they are conducting, they are essentially controlling the orchestra. They're controlling the emotion, they're controlling the tempo, the volume, all that sort of stuff. And so whilst they're not playing an instrument, they are highly responsible for the sound that comes out. So yes, this is Anna Rakitina conducting the Boston Symphony Orchestra with Nimrod. I will pause a couple of times going through this, partially because there are a couple of things I'd like to comment on, but also because I don't want to get hit by copyright. But I'm not reacting to this. I have heard this piece before, as is obvious at this point. You will also hear the end of Variation 8 before we go into this, because this is a piece, the instruction at the end of this will be, I assume it is this, Attacca, Attacca, which translates to attack at once. And what that is it's an instruction for the orchestra not to finish and stop and pause and turn a page and be ready to go again, but to continue playing through. And in this case, the chord that ends Variation 8 also, or the note rather, begins Variation 9. So we will hear the last few seconds of Variation 8 going into this. So this is Nimrod. Oops. There we go. And that's the end of 8. I almost don't want to pause this, but it's such beautiful music. And the emotion that is just the gentleness of the playing, it's very quiet. Like, especially compared to the first two bits I played you. I don't know how loud that version of Nimrod would have been. I haven't actually listened to it. But it's very it starts off with this wonderful tenderness and gentleness. And I love that it's evoking this idea of an Elgar who has reached a point where he doesn't want to continue. And then as we finish that phrase and we come into the next section of the song, we get this clarinet coming through that's just a little bit stronger. We're growing a little bit in strength as we go, and we'll do that throughout the entire piece. And it's just such a lovely move. Also, respect to any conductor who conducts without a score. You don't see that as often, and I really, really appreciate that. I think that's extraordinary, and I think it allows them to give their full selves to the orchestra as they are doing so. That little phrase there, da, 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 da. Remember that phrase, because it will come back in a very cool way a little bit later. I do want to address something here, actually, just for a second, because I haven't done any, other than a look at One Piece a little while ago. I haven't really done orchestral music on this channel much. And one question I've been asked a few times, as somebody who's played with orchestras and bands and things like that, is why the conductor always seems to be out of time. And you'll notice here that Anna is beating slightly ahead of where the orchestra is playing. The answer is they're not out of time at all. Also, they may only appear to be out of time for certain points. They might slip in so that their beats are exactly where the orchestra is at some points, and then slip ahead again so that they're beating slightly ahead. And the reason is, technically speaking, this orchestra will be professional enough that if she were not on the stage, they could play this piece note perfect. She is driving the emotion, and she's driving the volume, and so she's helping them to work through that in her imagination of what this song should sound like, what this piece of music should sound like. And so she might beat a particular emotion. There might be, a gentle movement and then suddenly a boom. There might be a you can't see my hand. There might be a boom, like a sudden, more deliberate beat, or the beat might gradually pick up in terms of intensity, something like that. And that is her guiding the orchestra. It's hard to follow something that is happening the exact moment it's supposed to be happening. So she's guiding them early so that they become louder or faster or whatever it happens to be at the moment she wants, not in response to the moment that she wants. And that's why a conductor will sometimes seem to have a lot of give and take in their performances. It's also sound. Like, depending on where these microphones are, the orchestra might be playing closer to her exact beat than we hear, but sound takes time to travel. It travels slower than light, which is why when you get a flash of lightning, the thunder comes a few seconds later. Same thing, even over the short space of a concert hall. If you're sitting at the front row of a concert hall and the back row of the concert hall, the conductor will seem to be much more in time from the front than they do at the back, because the sound is taking longer to travel to you, things like that. Anyway, I just wanted to mention it, because here it seems like she's ahead of the beat, and she's not. That's why that is the case. Isn't this magical? The way it reaches those climaxes, and every time we're just getting... You feel this growth again that I was talking about earlier, the whole way through this. And it's so good how powerful this feels as it's being played through. And it's much the same music as it was at the beginning, but more instruments, louder volume, a little bit more emphasis on percussion and things like that. And it feels much more strident and strong and positive than it was before. Lovely stuff. Here's that section. Da 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 da. Again, my voice not there. But that repetition, instead of going descending each time, this time repeating 3 times in a row at the same pitch, and the third time that powerful horn comes through, the timpani starts rolling. It's leading us to the ultimate climax of this piece, and I just love the fact that we're using that phrase that previously did one thing, now to, instead of dropping in pitch and becoming a little bit more somber, we're holding there, we're becoming more brash, more forward. Really, really lovely stuff. It's so powerful. And criticism on the person who wanted to clap there. I totally understand the feeling, because on its own as an individual piece of work, that was remarkable. But for anybody who hasn't been to an orchestral concert before, if you're watching a piece with multiple movements, you don't clap until the entire thing is finished. Even if the orchestra puts their instruments down, turns pages, resets themselves, brings the instruments back up again, you don't clap. You wait for the whole thing to finish before you clap. Isn't that magical? I adore this piece of music so much, and Anna's presentation of it here is just stunning. Just stunning. It's if you listen to 2 or 3 different versions of this, you'll very quickly understand that different orchestras and different conductors create different music. And even though it is another orchestra playing the same piece of music, you won't get the same performance. It's not, absolutely rote. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's down to interpretation, especially romantic music. And this version is just mind-blowing to me. I love it so much. And that's Nimrod. It occurred to me one thing I didn't say earlier. One place you may have heard it, if you've ever seen the British Remembrance Day service at the Cenotaph, they will always play this. This is a standard piece of music of that. Yeah, but that is Nimrod by Edward Elgar. I encourage you to check out... Oh, by the way, I didn't say this before, I always forget. Check down in the bottom, you'll see in the description a link to this video. Go and listen to it for yourselves without me interrupting. It's just amazing. Listen to the whole thing. I don't know if the whole thing's online. I'm going to have a look afterwards and see. But the Enigma Variations is an extraordinary piece of music, and it deserves to be heard through. But Nimrod, in particular, just one of the standouts from every avenue of my childhood. As I say, I don't remember when I first heard this, but it's been in here ever since, and it's not going anywhere. So yeah, that's that. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope it was cool to get a little insight into my musical history, but also maybe to hear a piece of music you hadn't heard before. I appreciate the time that you spend with me. Thank you. Please do hit the like button, the subscribe, and the notification bell. And if you care to support me, you can do so with a one-off donation at buymeacoffee.com/DavidKReacts. And that can be any amount you like. You can join my Patreon at patreon.com/DavidKReacts for $2 or $4 Canadian or your local equivalent. Or you could leave a super thanks here on YouTube, and any of those are very gratefully appreciated if you would choose to do so. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in my next video, which, all going to plan, will be coming out on Friday. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.